Hi, I'm Jen Beatson-King, and this is the KiwiConnection.net. We're having a lot of fun doing this. So we've had a few takes, and hopefully this will be the one.
For sure.
So it's the 24th of June 2019, and it's a glorious day outside. Not raining, it's sunny, and we can hear the birds. And so I want to invite you to this YouTube video. We're going to have a few sessions here. This is, I'd say, session one, and we're calling it Mediumship Development. I have Jules here with me, and Jules is going to do a little bit of development to become a medium. She's already very gifted and has seen spirit a lot. There's lots of things I'm going to let her tell you about in her journey so far. Up until this time, and then we'll from going forward we'll eventually get Jules to the point where she can sit down and do a 15-minute reading, and then on your own a 15-minute reading, and then a 30-minute reading.
Oh my gosh, eh?
Okay.
What will I talk about?
Yeah, so I haven't had the opportunity to have anybody mentor me in this way before. And Jules, you said you went online and you couldn't find anything like this either. Okay, so the reason I'm doing this is because, first of all, I feel great energy with Jules and great positive energy, and she's a really nice young lady. Second of all, is I wanted to help. I wanted to help and work with spirit, and this is one way of working with spirit. So we'll start our journey right now, okay? All right, so I have some questions here, and I have to cheat and use my notes. So my first thing is when did you first start having experiences with spirit?
Gosh, I would say from definitely like infancy, for sure.
Okay.
I remember seeing a lot of things that I didn't understand. I remember hearing spirits talking to me a lot at night when I would go to bed. I would sense spirits walking around me. I would, basically, I didn't know how to really respond. I was so young. And that pretty much was, and I would have premonitions. I would have like an ESP where I would kind of see things before they would happen.
Yeah.
And so I think my childhood was very confusing for me, to trying to incorporate all the spiritual stuff that was happening to me into the physical world. I remember when I used to go to bed at night, because it was still light out. I used to lay on my pillow and put my hands, over my eyes. And I actually remember, now looking back, what I was doing was I was opening my third eye. I didn't realize it at the time. At the time, I thought it was free TV. I could watch this TV all night, and my parents would never know that I was up. I thought like I scored. But looking back, it was interesting because I remember the gray sky with the sparkles, and then I remember going through all the different colors, and then I made it through to the night sky, and then from the night sky it was the cosmos, and I saw a lot of spirits in between. But not only that, when I got to the cosmos, I was able to go through tunnels which would take me into other dimensions, where I would interact with beings. And I think half of it was subconscious, and I was conscious of certain pieces. I definitely knew that I had interacted with a being and had little snippets. Some experiences were quite terrifying, and I think I probably ventured out a lot more than what I was able to handle at the time. I also encountered spirits that were in my lineage, that were attached to my family, so that was something that was quite different.
So give me an example of that.
Well, I don't know how else to say it other than, in some families you have generational curses that will affect family members throughout many generations. And for me, it was alcoholism on the male side of the family. So all the men were affected with alcoholism. And what was interesting is the more I would I guess as an adult, when I started healing myself, I started to understand the place that these spirits had. And the more I healed myself through it, the more that healing actually went through the 7 generations of my family. Yeah, I got to a place where I could I could heal outside myself, and then I would push this energy through 7, it looked like 7 pods or like little tents. And I didn't understand what it was, but what I was seeing was that, you know, when it comes to that type of thing, any healing that you do helps to heal that line as well. So yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's energy. It's all energy.
Absolutely.
So when you were little and you had these encounters with spirit, did you share them with your parents, with your mom or your grandmother?
No, it's funny because when everything came up again in 2008, my sister, like my family said they weren't surprised, because I would always have these big elaborate stories that I would tell them, but I didn't know it was spirit. So I couldn't tell them I was having paranormal experiences. I was just telling them I was going to these places, and they were just like, wow, you know, you should write short stories when you're old, you know? And not only that, my sister said that they thought I had a twitch because I was always looking really quick around. And so I think I was actually seeing orbs, you know, as a little kid. And so we just didn't know. And we didn't talk about that stuff in our family. And maybe it was the time. But my grandma, who we thought was a very religious person, she was a medium. And that was on my mother's side. And on my father's side, my great grandmother was Native, and she was known for making all of these special creams and stuff to heal ailments and stuff. She was also a midwife. Yeah, it was quite amazing. So it's definitely in my family.
And so your mother, is your mother a very spiritualist? Is she a spiritualist, or
I would say in my family, it wouldn't shock me to get a call from my mom saying, you know, or more my sisters, I would say, don't get on that plane. My mom definitely has a radar, and my sisters do too. We are all, I think we're all very empathic and very sensitive.
Yes.
And then I think from there it branches out. Like I do know that my sister, who's a year above me, I know she's a medium, and she's always channeling, and she doesn't even realize that she's doing it. And when I went through my spontaneous, like when I had an awakening, I remember calling her that day, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's all these spirits. And she said, those are your guides, they're welcoming you to another level. And to this day she says she never said that, but I swear she did, you know.
You told me about your Kundalini awakening. Can you explain that to everybody?
Yeah, it's funny because I come across many people who say, you know, I think maybe I've had a Kundalini awakening, or I don't know if I've had a Kundalini awakening. And I can tell you this, if you've had a Kundalini awakening, you absolutely know it. And I think the closest thing I could compare it to is childbirth. So, I mean, you'd never come across someone who'd say, I think I had a baby, you know? It's like, you definitely know it, for sure. And it's basically a coiled energy at the base of your spine. And once that is activated, it's pretty much like childbirth. Like you're going through it, whether you want to or not. There's no stopping it. And for me, it's been 9 years. And it was absolutely terrifying in the beginning. I think the first 6 years, I think I had moments where I went mad. I didn't know what was happening. But the more I progressed through it, and the more I got to know myself, the more the spirits around me started to change. And I started to realize that they were indeed here to help me, and the advice that they were giving me was for my higher good. And so for things that seem, you know, the spirit world up until that point was my enemy. And, you know, I had moments where, like, I would have almost taken my life, honestly. And I think for me, it wasn't my life here that was that bad. It was that I was so afraid of this paranormal stuff that was happening to me. And, you know, the only thing that stopped me from doing it was I kept saying to myself, you know, I don't want to die in the dark, you know? And I kept thinking, when I get to the light, you know, I'll be safe. But then, you know, I was the light, right? And I didn't realize it. And the more that started to make sense to me, the more everything started to
Easier.
fall into
Yeah.
place. And I had, like, my father came when I was working on some childhood stuff, and my father helped me through healing. My great aunt used to come and rub my face to console me. It was just, it was really amazing. I realized that I had all this help around
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
and that, life really does go on.
It does.
And,
Yeah.
so I think it was in there that my perspective or my perception of spirit started to change.
You did tell me when you were younger that, and I thought this was really interesting, and this is for people who out there who are very afraid of spirit and have had these encounters like Jules and don't know what to do. So, she's a good person to listen to get ideas on how to connect with spirit in a positive way rather than being going backwards and shutting them out and being frightened with them. So Jules did tell me about her psychic, I would say it was like a psychic awakening where the spirit did come and gave her like the negative and the positive. Okay, would you go on and explain that, please?
For sure. I think what's interesting is what when I reopened in 2008, I really felt like I was 3 years old again. And I had the perspective that I had then because I hadn't really grown or known anything different than my fear. And so it definitely was a journey to work with spirit. To get to a place where I would receive them. I had to learn to receive because I'd completely cut myself off. And I mean, they tried everything. They're quite hilarious, actually. The jokes that they would show me. Yeah. Or they would show me like a dark spirit, and then the dark spirit would morph into like this beautiful like fairy blowing me kisses, or like a little monkey or something. And I would see that a lot, and I was like, what is happening? Like, these spirits are changing and they're tricking me. But what spirit was showing me was that my perspective was tainted because of my experiences. And that what I was seeing was in fact beautiful spirits that were very loving. And so that took many, many years. I was like Jekyll and Hyde. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'd be like, come in, spirit. And then I'd be like, go away, and I'd be getting my sage out, or, rose water and spraying. And, so it's definitely been, it's like any relationship that we have in life where we have to learn to build trust. And, it's definitely been, a lot of relationship building for me.
So Jules's journey started a long, long time ago when she was little, and so she's had lots of struggles with it. And you said in the last 10 years, it's become easier and easier.
Well, I think having this spontaneous Kundalini awakening. At first, I just felt like I was constantly being dragged down into, I thought was like an underworld or something. And then I realized it was my dark trenches within me, And I had a lot of stuff that I worked through. And at first I thought like everyone, the world was against me. But, the more I was able to work through these things, the more I started to realize that, it was all for my benefit. And so going through the healing process, it's given me like a wisdom that I never even understood before. I never thought I just never thought outside this dimension, like I didn't realize the magnificence, of all of us and what we have to offer.
So you are like you've evolved yourself to this point, and good for you, because it takes courage to do that. It's easy for us to step back and hide from it, but it certainly is courageous to come out.
Oh, it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. And, not only that, like I also went through changes in my body too. Like, the world, everything felt so dense and so heavy, and I had to learn how to understand energy around me, and, good energy, and then maybe energy that was like, a lower vibration. And I mean, the world is energy, right?
Yeah, it is. We're all energy, all made up of energy. So talking about energy, you told me that you see orbs.
I do. Cool. When I think of the first time that I saw an orb, it's almost like a little embarrassing because Well, what it feels like is it feels like you're at a park and you're, if you were sitting on a blanket, maybe reading a book, and people were having like an ultimate frisbee game around you. Like you have the sense of all these like things flying around your head. But the first time I ever saw one was in my hallway in my house. And I thought it was like, because it was pulsating, I thought it was a UFO coming in at a really weird angle, so it appeared smaller than what it was. And I actually remember putting salt outside my doorway and staying in my room until my friend came with his dog.
Not understanding what it was.
No, I
was
had no
coming in
idea.
love.
I just, because even before that, I had seen spirits. But I never saw like a ball of something that just pulsated. And so my mind had no frame of reference other than like, that's a UFO in my hallway,
Yeah. So let's just talk about us meeting, okay?
Yeah.
I'll just let you go on. I'll just let
Okay.
you explain it in your words and
for
how
sure.
you felt, okay?
So I signed up for a workshop, a mediumship workshop, and I feel like they forgot to put on the list that it was advanced.
Yeah, it definitely was advanced. It was very advanced. That's why I was there.
Because there were a couple of us that were there that, we didn't get that memo. And so definitely, it was a mixed group, and it was a weekend workshop. And we did a lot of activities that really brought out my ability. Up until that point, I never thought I was even capable of that. Anyway, so I had been paired up with Jen during a couple activities. And first of all, like when I first saw you across the room, I thought, oh my God, that's totally my kind of person. I would totally wear that outfit. You were in this like cute little denim outfit. And
can't remember. But, yeah.
Totally. And I liked your energy. And then when I worked with you, what I thought was amazing was that, so I was doing a reading on someone else. And when the information was coming through to me, there was pictures and they were coming quite quickly, and I wasn't really able to articulate it. And Jen could actually come in and know what I was seeing. Like it was like you could come into my mind and say, Jules, I know you saw this. And I just thought that was like the craziest thing ever. For me, that was like so cool. And you actually helped me to understand what like the information how it was being presented to me, so I was able to formulate a message for this person. And I do struggle a lot knowing what's happening in the moment, and so that was so beneficial to me. And you weren't even there to mentor me. You were there on your own pay, on your own dime, and you just took it upon yourself to go right into that mentoring role. And I left that weekend workshop like I was kind of impressed with myself. I was like, wow. I mean, up until that point, I think it's just like, I look at all these amazing experiences I've had, and it's like just, like, wow, it's like one miracle after the other. And then on the other hand, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I don't even know. Did I make that up? I'm so confused. I have more questions than when I started. And, it's almost like, I remember my boss, when I was going through this, would go in every morning and show him pictures of orbs on my phone. I'd be like, oh my gosh, look what's happening to me. And he'd just look at me and say, ignorance is bliss,
Yeah.
For sure. And, is looking back, I'd say absolutely not. I would never change this journey for the world. But there were moments where I was like, please, ignorance is bliss. Rain on me,
Yeah, no. It was, it was kind of fortuitous that we met like that. I think it was great. So from what I remember, because I do so many readings and I've been to quite a few workshops, and you just go automatically into that. It doesn't feel like a teaching. It just feels like a helping and guidance thing.
Yeah.
So from memory, when I connected with you, or this is what I would do, connect with you, and I would share your energy, the energy of the spirit person. So it's like somebody coming to talk to you, and then I've come in on that conversation. So then it's really easy.
It's like a three-way conversation.
It is.
I love it.
And what they show you is what I get, but it's up to you to kind of interpret it. So just a little bit of, I think just a little bit of guidance was was there. Put it this way, the opportunity was there to give it to you, right?
And I took it. Like, it helped me a lot.
So it was given. Yeah. That's how we met, and then it's taken about
a year. So
yeah.
when I met Jen, then I was on a mission. I'm like, I'm going to hunt this lady down and I'm going to get her to work with me. So there were a couple times that I reached out to you, but the time never worked out. And it's funny because I remember at that point I was disappointed. You know, I was like, I'm really disappointed. But now looking back, I feel much more ready.
Okay.
And, I've worked through a lot of fear and stuff over the year too. And I mean, that's like, I'm always working on stuff. But I just feel in a much better place. And, I've been praying now for an opportunity to come. And, in fact, about 2 weeks before you contacted me, I was starting to do a lot of writing for affirmations to put that out there.
Right.
And I remember going out on the new moon and just standing underneath it and just praying and asking, like, please bring me like a mentor, bring me some help. And then I just thought of you one day. I was like, I'm going to send Jen one more text. And I sent you a text and you said, call me. And I called you and you pitched me this idea. And I swear it was like I had goosebumps galore, go up through my face, up through my chest and my face. And I knew that Spirit was saying, do this. This is good for you, because I think through the last 10 years, I've really gone into a bit of hermit mode because I felt very misunderstood. And I also kind of I felt like I turned into a bit of a feral person, because it's like I was taken to these other dimensions and then brought back on earth. And it was almost like I went through a period where like my social skills and stuff were like a bit off, because I feel like my mind was trying to take in so much information. And so this is like a good way, I think, of putting myself kind of out there a little bit, which is out of my comfort zone for sure. But I'm here, I'm showing up and I'm ready. It's like, I want to learn. I want to learn.
Great.
It's like been a long time coming where I feel like that, Spirit's been driving and, I just, I feel like, what, Spirit, you can hand me the wheel. I can make it. I can make it without driving over, smashing into something. I think I can, give it a try.
We're definitely doing it in Spirit's time, because it's not our time to get together. And what's that saying? Third time lucky?
Yeah, I know, right?
Third kick at the can. So that's how we met, and that's how we connected. And I felt very comfortable with Jules, and she has so much energy there, and psychic ability and connection with Spirit. So for me, it's going to be like a breeze to mentor you. It's gonna really help. I come across a lot of people I have in my past who have asked me for help, but they have no idea. They have no idea. You have had a totally other life, and now you're coming into a different development.
Yeah.
So you've gone through one huge phase and you come into another phase. So to me, it's like you're more than halfway there. But
I appreciate that. I don't always feel it. I still wonder what I know most times, but I hope so, because I really feel like I've been doing something over the last 10 years. I'm just, and I think it's kind of, it's like a flower, right? And I feel like I'm blooming.
Yeah, you are. It's hard to actually, if somebody else wants to come in, which I just said, other people have asked me before, but like you're talking about the flower blooming, well then, if the bud hasn't been watered and it's hard, right? You
gotta have a seed. You need a seed.
Yeah, you do. You need to have a seed. You need to have honed into your abilities, because everybody has the ability to connect with Spirit, to be a medium, to be a psychic, to be whatever they want with Spirit. However, they have to put in the practice like you have done. You've definitely put in a ton of practice over a long period of time. So It's my honor to mentor you.
Oh, that's an honor too. It's funny because looking back, I remember when I was 5 years old, I went to get a diploma and I was like in the gymnasium at school and I walked up to a mic and, the principal said, Jules, and what would you like to be when you grow up? And I said, a mermaid, And now it's funny because looking back, it's like, I'm sure I probably had many conversations with a mermaid, and for me at the time, they were very real.
They were real. No, they were real. Let's see what else I have to ask here. You here? Okay. Okay, so we had this conversation. We kind of got over this a little bit, but like, what is it in a nutshell that you want me to do for you?
Well, it's weird because I feel like when I'm not trying to engage spirits, I have like all these experiences and they're clear. But when I actually want to sit down and give a reading, like it was like in the workshop, I could do it. But I think it's because in a way I was a little bit scared shitless, of the teacher and the pressure was on. So somehow like I just did it. But when I'm by myself and, I want to give my friends a reading or something, it's like, I don't know how to do it.
You're blank.
Yeah, like I don't know how to do it. Or I receive information in different ways. Sometimes at the top of my head. Sometimes it's in the front of my face. Sometimes it's, Spirit talks to me through my heart. Other times I might hear it. And so it's really hard for me to say, okay, so when this happens, I know a spirit's coming in. When this happens, I know. You know what I mean? And so it just, or I find I'll see a spirit and it'll look young and then it'll change. Or it'll look one way and then it changes. And so I really, I would be really grateful if you could help me to work through a bit of the chaos and confusion. Okay. Because I feel that once I could get through that part, like I have a feeling the rest will flow much easier. It's the beginning part that it's like, and it's also the fear when someone says, oh, well, what do you see about me? Give me a reading. And I'm like, and then it's like I feel like a fraud because it's like I don't even know what to say. Everything goes blank.
Oh, that's funny. I was at a garden party last night and there was like 6 mediums and we were all sitting at this huge table with about, 8 other people. And one of the guys said, okay, do you know any mediumship games? Come on, mediums, say something. And we all kind of looked at each other and thought, no. Like, it doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't. I'm glad because I really felt like maybe this isn't for me because I thought if I'm a medium, I should see spirits everywhere. And, when I'm working, I'm always thinking when people say, like, what do you see around me? I'm like, nothing. I don't see anything. So I don't really know. If I'm open all the time, then why don't I see spirits all the time? You know what I mean? And if I'm not open all the time, then how do I open up when I need to?
So we'll discuss that in another session. I think that's all that we're going to discuss for now, which is quite a lot. So you know what we're going to do, and the ultimate goal is for you to have at least a 15-minute reading on one-on-one by yourself and feel comfortable with it and
confident.
Feel the trust with spirit. So I would say the main word we have to work on is trust right now, trust with spirit. So thank you very much for watching this YouTube video of ours.
And for being a part of my journey. I really do appreciate it, and I want you guys to know that if there's anyone out there, who is confused or fearful or just not sure how to start, hopefully this video can help.
And if you have any questions, you can always email me at the kiwimedium@gmail.com. So that's the kiwimedium@gmail.com, or connect to me through the website. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks so much, guys.
Okay, Haere Ra. Goodbye.